Hey there guys, how's it going? So this is going to be my final breakdown and prediction for Josh Taylor versus Regis Prograis IBF and WBA unification fight is coming up later this month in October. And yeah, it's going to be taking place in London at the O2 Arena. Thoroughly looking forward to it. This is, as you guys know, my most anticipated fight of the year. I've been really looking forward to seeing this one all year. So yeah, let's get stuck in, man. Let's talk about this one. So Josh Taylor taking on Regis Prograis. Both guys undefeated, both guys world champions, both guys southpaws, both guys very confident. And yeah, this is pretty much how I think of it, man. You guys know if you've been following my channel that when I first did a video about this fight, because I've done several videos about it already, and my initial thoughts on this fight, pretty much immediately after the Taylor Baranchik fight, where this fight became official, my initial thoughts was that Regis Prograis was the favourite. You know, I gave him the slight edge over Josh Taylor, and the reason for that, and I'll explain that here because a few things have changed since that. You know, there's been a lot of drama in the build up to this fight. Obviously, at that point, I didn't know the location, I didn't know the date, none of that stuff, and yeah, there's been a few developments since which I want to talk about later in the video, but. Initially, why I made Regis Prograis the favourite so early on is because I believe Regis Prograis, despite actually being slightly smaller than Josh Taylor, Regis Prograis has a couple of glaring physical advantages. First of all, his hand speed. Regis Prograis has very, very underrated hand speed. You know, I was watching him fight against Terry Flanagan and against um, Kiro Relic, and I was really surprised by how sudden his power punches were. Very, very quick hands, very, very explosive. And it's the type of explosive speed that I don't think that Josh Taylor has ever really dealt with yet. He has fought some quick fighters. I mean, you know, Miguel Vasquez was pretty quick. You had Postal, who throws some pretty decent combinations on the outside, but none of those guys had the type of sudden speed and power in combinations that Regis Prograis has. I think Regis Prograis' speed is very underrated. And also his timing. I've talked in the past about Regis Prograis' excellent timing. The guy seems to be very, very accurate. He seems to be able to get up on your chest and slip punches while still getting off his own punches on the inside. That, in addition to his speed, his power, and his timing, to me makes him a very, very difficult fight for Josh Taylor. I still think, even now, that stylistically he is all wrong for Josh Taylor. I really do. But a few things have happened in the build up to this fight, which has made me sort of second guess that. And what that is, as you guys know, Regis Prograis tried to pull out of the fight. He attempted to get out of his contract, and the Sauerlands and the people who are behind the World Boxing Super Series didn't allow it. You know, they put him in his place. They contractually forced him to take the fight and didn't allow him to pull out. So they put him right in his place. You know, they cornered him basically into taking the fight. And you know, it's his own problem. I mean, he signed a contract. He agreed to take the fight, and it was clear to me that he was trying to duck the fight. He was trying to avoid it because clearly he sees something in Josh Taylor that concerns him. So maybe, you know, that does plant a little bit of doubt in our minds, doesn't it? Maybe Regis Prograis isn't quite as mentally tough as I thought he was. And that's something that's been on my mind, you know, in the build up to making this video. And it gives it to me that highlights a major advantage that Josh Taylor has, and it's an advantage that could be the difference in the outcome of the fight. Josh Taylor has proven himself in areas that Regis Prograis has not. What I mean by that is Josh Taylor has proven his mettle, he's proven his chin, he's proven his ability to adjust, and he's proven his stamina. Quite most importantly, he's improving his stamina. You know, if you look at some of Josh Taylor's fights, for example, you know, his fight against Miguel Vasquez, he took on Miguel Vasquez at a time where Taylor was very, very inexperienced. I don't believe he'd even had 10 professional fights yet at that point. But he took on Miguel Vasquez. Miguel Vasquez was vastly experienced. He was still pretty young at 31. He was, of course, a former long-time world lightweight champion and a guy who's very ungamely. You know, a guy who knows how to spoil and knows how to hold and confuse you and survive and go the distance. And you know, he knows how to counter punch. You know, he's a little bit crafty with his techniques. And Josh Taylor really had to adjust in that fight. He got himself cut early on. He got tied up early on and stuff like that, and he had to really figure a way to break down and to take out a guy who was so much more experienced than him and so much more, seasoned than he was. And he managed to show his stamina, showed his ability to adjust. He started working the body, started, roughing him up inside, and he took him out very impressively with a body shot in the ninth. It was a very impressive knockout. He also showed his mettle when he fought Victor Postal. Again, Victor Postal, former world champion, vastly more experienced than Josh Taylor, came in great shape, came in very motivated. And early on in that fight, Josh Taylor got hurt. He took some very hard body shots. He took some very hard jabs, some right hands. He was getting held and leaned on and tied up by, again, a very crafty and very experienced Victor Postal. He was being made to miss. He was getting hit with the straight right hand. And Josh Taylor, by about the fifth round of that fight, was starting to look a bit confused. However, he bit down on his gum shield. He made a few adjustments, and he managed to break down and convincingly beat Victor Postal and knocked him down in the 10th too. Knocking him down at a moment in the fight where it looked as if it was going to be just nip and tuck. And I felt that in that fight, Josh Taylor really showed tremendous stamina, showed a very good chin, showed a lot of mental toughness, showed a very good, self-awareness in there. He was not getting hit later in that fight with the same punches he was earlier in the fight. He made some defensive adjustments. He made a few adjustments in terms of the way he was delivering his punches. He was starting to target the left hand over the top and stuff, and he found a home for it. His right hook to the body too, very effective. And I felt that Josh Taylor showed in that fight the ability to adjust, and he showed tremendous stamina. Again, when he fought Ivan Baranchyk, Ivan Baranchyk, very tough guy, very powerful. And I was watching that fight live, man, and I was concerned because by about the third or fourth round, Taylor was starting to mark up. Baranchyk's power looked as if it was starting to get to him a little bit, and I thought watching it, I'm like, Taylor might end up getting stopped here. But then by the midway point of the fight, he came back very strongly. He scored two very impressive knockdowns, and he completely took over the fight. So Josh Taylor to me has proven against different styles, against big punchers, against technically sound fighters with experience and skills and defense and awkward tactics that prospects don't generally know how to deal with. He showed that he could take on those type of fighters and adjust mid-fight. And I think that him and his trainer Shane McGuigan seem to be improving every fight. They seem to be improving Josh Taylor's awareness in the ring. His balance seems a lot better. He seems to be hitting harder too. He's punching a lot harder in his most recent fights than he was earlier in his career. He's got decent hand speed. He's not quite as fast as Regis Prograis, but he does have decent enough hand speed to where he can compete. And to me, he's just a guy who's shown a tremendous amount of mental toughness, as well as physically a very good chin. I mean, he's never been knocked down in his career, so his chin, his mental toughness are proven at a level that Regis Prograis isn't proven, is the point I'm trying to make. And the more I think about it, the more chance of Josh Taylor pulling off this minor upset, which is what I would view it, is, the more of a chance I give him, because I just think that, to me, he just, like I said, he's proven it. He's proven that he can go in there against a guy that you really think should be beating him. A guy with more experience, a guy with more punching power. And he's proven he can overcome that. And I just think that this fight's really going to come down to the mentality of both guys. If Regis Prograis, and he might have it, if Regis Prograis has the same type of mental toughness that Josh Taylor has, then this fight's a mismatch. I think Regis Prograis will knock Josh Taylor out. I think he'll outbox him, and I think he'll break him down and stop him late. Probably a brutal knockout, if I'm being honest. I mean, I'm thinking back to when Regis Prograis fought Julius Ndongo. He just got inside of Julius Ndongo and took him out so quickly, who was also a southpaw. Scored a very impressive knockout against Julius Ndongo. Some of his earlier fights too, where he looked like a pure pressure fighter, just walking down guys and knocking them out. I could see if he has that same level of mental toughness I can totally see him stopping Josh Taylor. He could knock him out late. He could stop him on cuts. Like I could just see it happening. But if he doesn't have the kind of stamina or raw fighting spirit that Josh Taylor has, and if Josh Taylor is able to work the body early on, and he's a very good body puncher, Josh Taylor, particularly with the uppercut and the right hook, if he can get Regis Prograis to the body early on, and if Regis Prograis doesn't really have that world level ability to adjust, as well as that mental toughness and stamina and durability and just overall fighting spirit, then I can see Josh Taylor out muscling him, out fighting him, and winning a close decision. What I think will be very difficult to happen though is I can't really see if this fight's going to be one-sided. I can't see Josh Taylor dominating Regis Prograis. I can't see Josh Taylor just going in there and doing a number on him and taking him out in 4 rounds. I really can't see that happening. I think the bigger puncher of the two is Prograis. I think the faster fighter of the two is Prograis. And I think if anybody is going to do a number on the other, it's going to be Prograis doing it to Josh Taylor. I don't think Josh Taylor has the ability to just go in there and blast this guy out. I mean, if he couldn't blast Ivan Baranchyk out um, or Ryan Martin out in a few rounds, he's not going to do it to Prograis. Okay, Prograis is a much more skilled fighter than both of those two. Ivan Baranchyk is a tough guy, with a lot of power, and Ryan Martin is a decent enough skilled boxer with fast hands, but neither one of those guys are as powerful or as fast as Regis Prograis, in my opinion. I think Regis Prograis is a type of fighter Josh Taylor hasn't been in with yet. Now, Josh Taylor was sparring with Luke Campbell, who himself is a southpaw and is quite slick, who was preparing to fight Lomachenko. And Josh Taylor claimed that Luke Campbell did a good job of emulating Prograis, maybe stylistically and just in terms of the southpaw stance and little nuances and things that southpaws do, that might be true, but I don't think that Luke Campbell is anywhere near as powerful or as quick as Regis Prograis, so I don't really think it's fully adequate training for Josh Taylor, but either way, I mean, it's tough to find the right sparring partner every time, and I think that the key to winning this fight for Josh Taylor to me is for him to try and keep it long range, try and keep it behind the right jab, and stick those body shots in from the outside. Maybe step to the right, and stay away from Prograis' left hand because Prograis' got a mean left hand. Just keep Prograis just at distance. Maybe step to his left and try and snick the straight right jab into the body while moving to the left, sorry, and just keep him turning. I think if Josh Taylor fights like that, he can win the fight. And when Regis Prograis tries to get on the inside, don't just like try and go for the head because Prograis is very good at slipping punches inside. So while Prograis is in the pocket, Taylor needs to just sidestep and pivot and throw uppercuts to the body. Whip that left uppercut into the body like Lucien Boutte used to do. Like he did to Ahara Davis. You remember when Ahara Davis would throw one of those big hooks and Taylor would slip under it and just whip the uppercut to the body, then whip the right hook to the body. And that's the type of thing he needs to do to win this fight, in my opinion. And maybe he could force a late stoppage. Maybe he could, grind out a hard-fought decision. I just don't know, man. It's that kind of fight. It's a really, really hard fight. I think what I'm going to go with, what I'm going to predict is I think this fight's going to be very close early on. I think it's going to be a cagey affair. And I think that Regis Prograis is going to get the better of Josh Taylor early on with his better hand speed and his power. If Josh Taylor can adjust to that, then I can see him maybe grinding out a decision. So look, I can totally see Prograis winning the fight by knockout. I think that if the fight goes late, I can see Josh Taylor maybe because he's proven down the stretch in fights, because he's proven his stamina and his courage and his mettle and his bottle at world level. He's just proven his stamina over 12 rounds basically. I think he could ground out a very close, maybe debatable decision. I don't think there'll be any corruption in this fight. The fight is in London, and I know that you guys in the States will probably think, well, Taylor's from the UK. Guys, Taylor's Scottish, okay, and I can tell you right now, London is in the south of England, okay, and a guy from Scotland, particularly somewhere like Edinburgh, fighting in the south of England, he's not going to have a whole lot of support, okay, and not only that, the fight is going to be it's going to be organised, and it's going to be promoted by the Sauerlands and the people who run the World Boxing Super Series. I know the fight's on Sky, which Eddie Hearn has a lot to do with, obviously, but the people who are actually running the show are going to be the Sauerlands, most likely. So it's completely neutral. The IBF and the WBA, which are both, sanctioning bodies which are based outside of the UK. I mean, the IBF is based in America. The WBA, I believe, is based in Panama. They are probably going to be the ones, along with the British Boxing Board of Control, who will appoint the officials for the fight. So there's not going to be any corruption, okay? It's probably going to be fair. I'm going to I'm going to stick my neck out here. Although I think Prograis has a very good shot at a knockout, he could stop Josh Taylor, but I'm going to go with Josh Taylor on a very, very close decision. Maybe a debatable decision, which people will call for a rematch. That's my prediction. I'm gonna go with Josh Taylor on a very close decision. So let me know what you guys think anyway. And yeah, thanks for watching. God bless.